Hackathon for Young Coders, the senior category. Hi everyone, let's wave.
Hello.
Okay, you guys look very, very excited for today. So we are also very excited to see your projects. Okay, so for this presentation, we have the guest panelists. So first up, we have Miura-san from Coding Lab Japan.
Hi everyone, good luck for the presentation today.
Yes, good luck. Great. Okay, and next up, we have Brian from Coding Lab Japan too.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. And yes, good luck. And thanks for joining.
Yes, and next we have Yong Ning from Coding Lab Japan. Coding Lab Singapore, sorry.
Hi everyone, all the best and have lots of fun today.
And last but not least, we have Candice Wang from Coding Lab Singapore.
Hi everyone, nice to see you. All the best for the presentation today.
All right, all the best, everyone. Okay, so to start off, we will have Candice to say a few words.
Hi. Hello, a very good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for joining us today. On the behalf of the organizing committee, I'd like to welcome all of you to the semi-finals of the Young Coders Global Hackathon 2020 senior category. We had close to 100 coders sign up for the hackathon, and all of us really enjoyed looking at all of your amazing projects. For our top 10 semi-finalists today, we are excited to hear from you directly as you bring us through the key elements of your project. I hope that for each and every one of us, your journey through this COVID period has been meaningful and has allowed you to express your ideas and thoughts that could help benefit the community with your passion for coding. It's not just about winning the hackathon, although I'm sure everyone wants to win, but most importantly, it's also about the learning process, the extensive research that all of you have undertaken, which would have given you stronger insights for which to apply to your project, empathy towards our fellow men and neighbors all around the world, bringing about a fulfilling experience and lifelong memories. Go for it! I will now hand over to Brian from Coding Lab Japan, who will be taking us through the agenda and guidelines for today. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Candice. Hello, everybody. So first, I wanted to thank everyone who submitted projects. So the judging process was difficult. There was a lot of awesome projects. So to all the students who did not make it to the semifinals, all your projects were great and awesome. And you did great work. And we hope to see you at the next Young Coders Global Hackathon. To the 10 teams that are here today for the semifinal presentations, welcome and congratulations. So first, let me just talk briefly about what we'll do today. And so the format's going to be, we're going to go through each team in alphabetical order. Each team will have 3-minute presentation round. And so they can talk about, answer some questions about their project, such as who your project is meant for, what problems does your project solve, how does your project solve those problems, a summary of the key coding highlights, and then also think about how your project can be scaled up. And then after that, there'll be a 3-minute question round. And so we will ask each team member a number of questions related to the code in their projects and also the design of their projects. Okay, so that's going to be what we're going to do today. So after today, the top 5 teams will be selected to compete in the final coding competition on May 2nd. So for the final coding competition, each team will be allowed to choose one representative to represent their team at the final coding challenge. The judges will choose the top 5 teams based on how well their projects answered the hackathon coding challenge question, their code and the design of their projects, their presentation today, and the answers to their questions today. And so finally, during the presentation and questions, we ask that everyone be respectful to their fellow coders. And if you're not talking or presenting, to keep your mic off just so we don't have background noise and that sort of thing. Okay, with no further ado, welcome and let's get started.
All right. Okay, good luck, everyone. So since we're going in alphabetical order, the first up we'll have Ayu. Okay, Ayu, can you share your screen with us? Great. And you can start anytime. So when I'll time you, after 3 minutes, you might hear a timer. So when you hear that, you can round up your presentation.
Got it.
Okay, you can start anytime you want.
Okay, so hi, my name is Ayud, and I'll be talking about my project, the Morbus project. Okay, so who is my project meant for? Well, my target audience is anyone above the age of 10 and have access to an electronic device and internet. They could be environmentalists who want to see the change in carbon dioxide emissions as COVID-19 cases rise, or students who need to find out similarities between COVID-19 and malaria or any other pandemic. My target industry is healthcare information because I want to show different statistics on different pandemics and not just COVID-19 alone. So what problem does my project solve? My project aims to help solve global understanding about pandemics. If we could solve this problem, we could better deal with diseases that might come in the future and definitely deal with our current COVID-19 situation. Okay, so how does my project solve the problem? Well, by showing real world facts, people like the average Joe to world leaders can take decisions that might impact how the pandemic hits us. If in January, people were being shown how COVID-19 affected China, people would have been more aware of the problem at hand. We could have dealt with the problem differently, and we could be in a very different world right now if we had something like this to show us that this is getting bad. Let's take a moment to think and see how we're going to deal with this pandemic. So some of my code highlights is that it uses sleep and TQDM to make the user interface feel like smooth, comfortable, and easy to use. I also structured my code really well. I planned out a better system, not just for me who's programming it, but for other programmers to simply look at my code and understand what I'm doing. So I think my project stands out because it focuses on pandemics as a whole. And that was because I think we shouldn't just learn about COVID-19 because we might get infected. I think we should learn about COVID-19 and other pandemics so that in the future, millions of people don't have to suffer because we took the wrong decision. And on top of that, my project is quite straightforward. It's more or less basically just printing a graph. But in spite of being so simple, there's a lot of things you can do with it because of all the variables available. And that brings me to the next point, scalability. Well, my project, it has the potential to be so much more than what I've just made. Imagine all the variables that can be added, like I said before, COVID-19 versus carbon dioxide emissions, or maybe COVID-19 versus money spent on video games. The list can go on and on. What about cases in different countries? And on top of that, think about all the pandemics that have changed the course of history, from smallpox in the 1700s to the 1990s Spanish flu to our current COVID-19 pandemic. There have been plenty of diseases that have come and gone. And even after all those diseases, we still haven't learned our lesson. Pandemics are dangerous, and in our growing world, they can easily be spread worldwide. COVID-19 could be a blessing in disguise. That's telling us to prepare because they're not going to be the last ones. Thank you for listening.
All right, great. Done. Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the Q&A section now. Good job.
Maybe I'll ask the first question.
Sure.
So I like your Python program, which is a pretty nice, simple prototype in terms of what it can do in the future. So tell me a little bit more, which is, first of all, how did you generate your graphs? Just to get a better understanding. And in the future, how would you scale this up to get live data?
Well, in the future, I was thinking of like looking at web scraping, like Selenium or robot.txt to like get like live data.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah. Good. Thanks. I can ask a next question. So, describe your user input system. So how do users choose different options, and how does your program determine which command to run?
Oh, well, basically, it shows a table of contents, and then that gives you the different like inputs that you can put in. And when you put the correct input, it goes to a function, like a separate function for the graph that you want to print, and then it prints that graph, and then it returns back to the main function.
Okay. Good.
So in developing your user interface, so you made use of sleep. So how did that function actually help to make the entire experience better?
Well, I guess because when we see something happening in front of us, like if we see like a progress bar loading, I guess, like it makes us like, it makes it better so we can see that it's happening. Then in our brains we can understand that it's happening.
Good. So in your opening remarks, you talked about one of the highlights of your program was how you structured your program. So talk a little bit about how you organize your code and your design for the project.
Well, it had firstly, as a global variable, it had X and Y lists for the graphs. And after that, it would have all the functions for the different types of graphs that can be printed. And then it has the main function. And then the main function asks for the user's input. And then it goes to the separate other functions, which takes in the X and Y lists that are global. And then it returns it and prints out the graph.
Okay, good, thanks.
All right, great. I think that's time's up. So thank you for the Q&A and great job, Ayu.
Yeah, good job. Awesome work. I like the program.
Okay, thank you. So maybe you have the next person, Ali.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Ali. You can share your screen. All right, great. You can start whenever you're ready.
Hello, my project is maintaining social distance with computer vision. My target audience is everyone, people going to market streets, culture pages. In labs, we can do, and in Turkey, there's not a strict regulation to prevent social distance, like in the second picture, and I want to solve that. And it can prevent spread of the coronavirus. And for maintaining social distance, human work isn't needed, like police force. It can do not manually. Police can do different things, like guarding some markets. I don't know. How does your project solve problem? And summary of the key code lines is the same. I want to answer about the same time. It detects the humans as a box and measures distance between humans. If it's less than threshold, I think a social distance is 1.5 meters. If less than 1.5 meters, it plays as a siren sound. It uses neural network. It's a SSD MobileNet version 1 to detect the human. It's a network architecture. And here is the code that how we get the class from the box output. Model outputs boxes and box class and score. Class 1 represents human and score. If the score of the box greater than threshold value, we add it to the list. And we compare all the boxes in the list and distance between the points. If less than set parameter, siren sound plays. Why we do 2 for loops is because we need to compare each element in this, and A and D, sorry, A and B, A and C, A and D, B and C, B and D. We need to compare all of them. And how can your solution be scaled? In real world, we need the depth data too. In lockdown station, I didn't have 2 cameras, but in future times, I want to have 2 cameras to do a stereo camera setup and detect the depth data. The camera can be put near CCTV TVs. It will be easy to put there. And if you want, I want to show you a demo of the project. Sorry, slow. Yeah, if middle point is green, they are social distance. Yeah, my presentation is so.
Right, great. Thank you, Ali. So, we'll move on to the Q&A.
Right. I think it is an exciting project with huge potential to scale, applying machine learning and artificial intelligence to monitoring social distancing, right? Making sure that people are a certain distance apart. So pretty impressive. So I would like to better understand in terms of your model, right? So you actually made use of some existing model, correct?
Existing created model, because my computer is little slow and I didn't know how to use Google Colab. I get a pre-trained Coco translate. It outputs 41 classes. Class 1 represents human in here. Class 1 represents human.
Got it. Yeah. So would you be able to describe a little bit more about the models that you used? What is its capability? What are the limitations? And how did you actually make use of your model, of the existing models, to develop your program?
Actually, I tried two models. It's here. It's faster RCNN inception and SSD mobile net. It's faster RCNN is more slower. It's more accurate, but it's so slow. It can measure frames like 3 seconds in my computer. But SSD mobile net is less accurate but more fast. So I want to use that. And there is a list of models in TensorFlow Zoo. Okay. There's a list of models, and each trained on Coco dataset. Coco is all containing 41 object classes like human, like cars. I don't know much thing. And their scores here.
Got it. Yeah. So that's great. So you actually look through all the different models that are existing. So take us through your considerations before you decided on the model that you chose. How did you decide that, hey, these are the models that you are going to choose to use for your program?
I wanted some models and trained them. That's in the pods and SSD moblets and faster RCNN. But
like for example, just now you mentioned speed is one consideration, right? One of the criteria.
Yes, speed is the most important thing because it needs to be live. Accuracy can be a little off, I think, because speed is more important in real life. You need to one frame. There are 24 frames in 1 second, 200 FPS, and it interprets at least 1 second for frame. If accuracy rises, the speed 1 time to measure a frame rises. So I think SSD mobile is the best for my project.
All right, nice.
Great.
All right.
Yeah.
Brian?
We might be out of time on that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was awesome project. Actually, maybe in just like 20 seconds or 30 seconds, can you tell us briefly what is TensorFlow?
TensorFlow is a machine learning library. It's made by Google. It's made in C++ and export Python. It's some nearly sorry. It's some function like matrix multiplication, and neural networks is a much more matrix multiplication. TensorFlow is a high-level program that uses that. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. As Youngmin said,
that's
this project looks amazing. Yeah. It's a good job.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ali.
Great job.
I think you have learned
And it's a
lot of
great
models
tutorial
from
on
this.
TensorFlow sites, and you can learn object addiction very easily. TensorFlow is a very good library to learn.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
thank you. Yes, that's definitely a good library that we can use. Okay, thank you, Ali, for your project and your presentation. Good job.
Yeah.
Okay, I think next up we will have Ayu, Team AMMA. Okay, maybe you wanna, because it's team with Aaron, right? Aaron and Ayu together. Right, so I guess Ayu will be doing the presentation. All right, you can start when you're ready.
Hi, we're Team AMMA, and my name is AU or Melody.
My name is Aaron.
Okay. So we thought that getting the whole family engaged during this lockdown was really important. So that's why we added different sectors of our program dedicated to different age groups, such as like kids, teens, parents, and the elderly, and like completing the whole family set.
We also kept our program simple to read since we wanted people like the elderly and young children to have an easy time finding the things they want to find out about.
So what's the problem?
Having no socialization and physical communication for a full month can be boring. Furthermore, it's getting extended. It is nice to have your own personal time once in a while to sleep and relax, but after sleeping for 12 hours straight, what else can you do?
The lockdown will also deprive a lot of people's motivation. So like the 2020 goals you could have made for exercising more, yeah, that might not get fulfilled this year. Plus, the dreaded laziness is also coming back. Getting up for bed will be harder than ever. And to prevent that, people need something to do. But what if they don't know what to do?
Lastly, the COVID-19 pandemic is pretty stressful. You might be wondering how the virus transmits, or how do you prevent yourself from getting it? And which websites can you trust?
So how does our program help with those problems? To give users motivation, our program has a system which will generate exercises and stretches out of a pre-made list, providing our users with a lot of versatility in what they want to do. We also have a list of shows that they can watch to stave off boredom.
Secondly, we educate users by providing them with various pieces of information about the virus, and all our information comes from official government websites, though any myths and rumors about the virus that people may have heard can be fact-checked through ours.
So we use Tinker for our project so that users would be able to access the info they want efficiently and simply. We also use multiple loops in our code, which helps structure it better. We imported other small modules in our program too. So why are we different?
Our program is directed for people of all ages. We provide a lot of fun activities, not only for adults or teenagers, but also for the elderly and small children. Not to mention that we provide both entertainment and physical exercise in one package, so users do not have to worry about finding multiple apps for this purpose.
Our app also provides things like exercises and entertainment shows in moderation to discourage people from splurging and watching too much.
We were thinking to
Right,
have
great.
Wait, we have one more, sorry.
You have one more.
Yeah.
We were thinking to have more collaborations with other people to scale up our project. For the entertainment section, we could collaborate with famous entertainment websites like Netflix or Crunchyroll.
We could also hire real trainers to do live sessions with users for yoga, stretching, and workouts, etc.
We could also add a Q&A section which could be answered by qualified healthcare professionals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Team AMMA. Well done. All right, now we move on to the Q&A.
Okay, so I can start. So welcome, thanks guys. Your project has a lot of different functions that users can do. Maybe describe briefly your navigation model and the user experience. So essentially how the user is able to select different features in your program and that sort of thing.
So basically each sort of page of our program is linked to a button which can be found on like the home page. And every time you press the button, they'll link you to a different thing that you can read about.
Great.
So if you want like a little like demo, if we run this, the users have to like press these buttons and then they'll get the information that they want.
Okay, excellent. And how did you actually create your UI for this project? Or the buttons and all of that?
So we use Tinker for our project, and we just based it out of labels and buttons and images and stuff like that.
Good, thank you. So another question is, so one part of your project is you have a quiz with questions and answers. So how does a user select an answer, and how does your code? Oh,
we
sorry.
don't have a quiz.
Oh, you don't.
Yeah,
No.
that's for like scaling up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh no, sorry. You're right. Good. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So in terms of scaling up, what would you do differently? Like what kind of system or technology would you use? Given the chance to scale this up.
Well, a lot of our thing needs the user to actively think. For example, when we ask them, we like tell them the symptoms and they have to think about which ones they can track. But if we could potentially use something else to help them to just let them auto enter information and then the system can do it for them to make things more convenient and easy to use.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of changes would you need to do with your code in order to be able to support that?
I guess for our code, we would probably need to have a place where users can enter things, like an enter user program in our code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Any
Great.
other questions?
Any last questions?
I would just say one last question is, from your project, what is the if you could add more time and you could add one more feature, what would the feature be?
Probably a Q&A section. Maybe it's like the user can search up frequently asked questions, and then we could give them like answers to the questions.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And I like the idea of like hiring live trainers to give exercises that you all mentioned earlier during your presentation. That's fun.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, good job.
Yeah, awesome
Great
job,
job.
guys.
Thank you, Team AMMA. Okay, next up we will have Junrui. Junrui.
Yeah. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hang on.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. I am Anjali, and I'm here to share my hackathon projects. So first thing is, what does my project solve? It solves various issues that I came up when brainstorming ideas. The first one is that family now have a lot of free time due to the COVID-19 situation, and a lot of them can bond with each other. So yeah, this is the target audience is the family. And the second one is about adults overworking, because like now some adults like my father is overworking sometimes because they are more busy due to due to COVID-19. So I want to help them solve some issues regarding that. And also the government has been urging people to stay indoors, and some people have been quite ignorant and don't stay indoors. So I want to help everyone, also help the government to get people to stay indoors to prevent the spread of COVID-19. It also people also that time I thought of people athletes that struggle to keep fit, and yeah, so I want to develop a solution for them. So basically these are my code highlights. So like this one is a usual this is a function, and this checks the local time, and if it's too late at night, it will tell the user uh, to get some rest, and give the user the option of quitting the program straight away. The second one is overworking and bonding with family, which is like this is parts of my program. And so this program gives them suggestions, as you can see here, and these suggestions can be used to guide them and help them schedule their work, and also their basic schedule for the whole day. The next one is warning elderly not to go out of the house, because elderly is the most vulnerable age group right now. So I warn them in my function, and I so as to help them find no stop them from getting from leaving the house unless they have some very important reasons to do so. The last one is accounting for each member in the family. um so basically my program does does checks if you are a child, adult, or 16 years old and a bit above. So basically there are three groups, and my program checks for each of them, and have different code for each of them. Yeah. And also I also give family members options, so they can choose one of these and get some details on it, and I recommend like the websites or the top few movies or whatever to for them to watch. Yeah, some websites that I recommended. So basically I made some improvements, and I just want to say a bit of it. The first one is mainly for user experience. It basically adds a try and accept function, which helps because sometimes when I run my program, what happens is that you might accidentally input something that is invalid, and then after that the whole program crashes, and then after that you have to restart the program all over again. So I added this in order to optimize user experience. Second one Second one is error statements. I make them all invalid try again, so that they will understand that this is the error statements. This is just another one. And yeah, I added more time dot sleep commands. So basically what this does is sometimes my output may be overwhelming for the user, and so I want to use time dot sleep to allow the program to stop outputting in between import in between intervals, so that the program can so that user can have time to read and is not like shocked from the amount of output. I also added I also yeah this okay.
All
So
right,
this is my
Junwei, maybe you want to sum up your presentation?
some of my code that I use. And then key focuses is basically I want to make my code very user friendly, and also I also suggest a lot of things to help mainly family members. So finally, scaling project, I would like to merge, if possible, I would like to merge this project with other participants' project. I've seen the website and other participants' project, and a lot of them are actually really good. And I think the best project can only be created from everyone's most projects merged together, and that could help. So website could also be designed, and yeah, and lastly, I want to thank my parents and coding lab. Teacher Carl also, because she recommended me by Chan, which helped me a lot, and teacher Lim for helping me also. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chinwei, for the presentation. Okay, great. On to the Q&A session.
I can start. So one question for you with your program enables users to type in commands and to run different functionality. So maybe describe the code, how your program, how the command system works, and how users can choose commands and how you can determine if it's the correct command.
Yeah, so for example, if I restart this program, hang on. Okay, yeah. So for example, let's just skip through this part. So like this is the time lock sleep function. It is not actually running a lot of code, but it's actually waiting for the user. So for example, it's for now it's lunchtime, so I give them a choice whether to exit or not. So if I type random stuff, it'll say invalid, try again. Yeah.
Good. So maybe with that, with your error checking, so how are you actually doing that in your code? How are you determining if the user types something that's incorrect or invalid?
Yeah, okay. So so if we go to exactly where error happened, it's, yeah, okay. So here I ran a program, and this is my main format for each input. So what happens is that it has a while loop, and it keeps trying to get the user to input something that is valid. And if the user input something that produces a value error, you print invalid, try again, and retry the whole program until he input something correct, and then after that you have a break function to continue on the program.
Good, thanks.
Okay, great. Maybe I can ask one question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you use
yeah.
PyCharm. So maybe you can explain what that is about.
PyCharm is just a different program because I usually used Idle before, and now I'm using PyCharm, and I think it helped a lot because, like for example, previously I didn't know accept couldn't wasn't had some weird error, and then after that I didn't know that it had actually an error if I use it like that. But because of PyCharm, it helped me, so I was able to add in these details. Yeah. This is just one example of the many errors that PyCharm has for me. And also, for example, PyCharm helped me break up. Let me find it. Yeah, for example, like this type of format, I didn't know there's actually print. You can close it here and then open it here, so that the word doesn't go too long. Yeah.
Okay, great. Maybe anyone, last question from anyone?
Maybe one last one is, so you mentioned you use time. So maybe briefly describe how you calculate time and use time in your program.
Oh, okay. So time is usually time in my program only more or less is time lock sleep. It doesn't really have a lot, except for the start time and end time, just for the user reference on how long he spent on this program. Yeah, and then after that, I also used date time for this time module, and yeah, it'll help you calculate the hour and the minute. So it will print, like for example, here is currently 12 hours 30 minutes, which is like 12:30 right now when this thing was run.
Good. Yeah, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you,
Nice.
everyone.
Very good project.
Yeah, good job. Nice work.
Well done.
Okay, thank you, Jinri. Okay, next up we'll have Demi and William. Team Better Program Pending.
Hi.
Hi.
All right. So let's do this.
Yeah, I can share a screen.
Wait, I think that was the wrong screen. This one. There we go.
Can start when you're ready.
All right. So the problem with so our target audience for our program is pretty much anyone who can speak English and is not a toddler. And because of this very wide audience age range, we wanted to make our program as accessible as possible. That's why we made 2 versions of our project. We have a graphical version and a non-graphical version. The graphical version requires a download and requires you have Python, etc. But then the non-graphical one, anyone can run on just the Google Colab website. Examples of people who might want to use our program could be parents who are concerned for their child's safety, regional policymakers who want to use data statistics to use them as a basis for their decisions, whether or not to, I don't know, like input a curfew on the city or whatever they might want to do. And it can just be used by people just curious and want to stay in the know about the coronavirus. Dimi will talk more about the problem we wish to solve.
Right. So the problem we solved is the fact that right now there's so much news all around the world, and generally the news is biased, as we know. So since the news is biased, people would probably look to more statistics and factual knowledge that have no opinion in them. And we also chose this because it doesn't raise issues of civil rights or ethical issues, like possibly some other things related to social distancing and things like that might. And yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't want anything that would like reveal people's locations. Okay, so in this chatbot which we created, there are multiple main functionalities which are in the functions. One of the functions uses the Johns Hopkins API to receive data from the current coronavirus statistics from whichever country the user asked for, and that's the C update function. We use the requests module because that makes it really easy to communicate with the application program interfaces. The API only gives us the recovered deaths and cases, but then after we extract them, we do math upon them so we can get like the cases per million, the mortality rate, the recovery rate, and we also have to use a population API so that we can get the accurate cases per million. However, some countries provide very detailed statistics, such as the United States, China, and India. For example, in the United States, they give it by state, so it's much more difficult to extract this information. So instead, we had to use a different API, which only extracts the entire country's data. Dimi will also explain some other functionalities we had, like graphing.
Okay, maybe you want to round up the session.
Yeah. Okay.
Demi can say a few words. Yeah.
Since we originally had GUI and we had to move this program into more basic form, which doesn't have a real user interface, we decided to compensate for this by making a better statistical program which shows graphs of countries. So it shows you the growth rate of the countries over time and the current date. So it iterates through the number of days that have passed since the first case, using info from Johns Hopkins University.
All right, great. Thank you guys for your project. Okay, now we can move on to the Q&A session.
Yeah, it's a very interesting project, Brian, don't you think?
Yeah.
Where you're getting live data, extracting. So I would like to know a little bit more about the process of extracting live data. I mean, you actually briefly explained about it during your presentation, but take us through on how, when you perform a query on the API, what actually happens in the background? Do you know?
Okay, so we use this website called rapidapi.com, which is essentially like Amazon, but for APIs. And so whenever we call the API, and I'll find an example. Okay, here. What we do is we use this website, which is essentially like the link to the API, and then we pass it my own API key, and the API key it's basically like the lock to the safe. and it just checks, all right, you have the key, here's the data. The data it returns is in the form of, well, it's a string, but it's really like a JSON array. So we use the JSON module to convert that string into just a dictionary. So as you can see here, after we load it with JSON, we can just use the output as if it were just our own dictionary, which we created.
One of the tricky part about this was the fact that depending on the API, the countries go by a different name. For example, in one API, United States would be u.s.a. But if for another API, it will just be lowercase US. And so because of that, we had to add different if statements depending on what the API is.
Oh, can you show me that if statement to deal with that problem?
All right. Let me just find any. All right. So,
right.
For example,
do you think there's, yeah, so let me give you a live challenge here, which is rather than writing so many if else, if statements, what do you think will be another way to solve this?
Another way we could do it would be we could store all of these in like in a text file, and then it could like go through line by line through the text file, and then checking if, so maybe like so the odd number of lines would be these values, and then the even number of lines would be these values. So then it would just loop through and then check the odd values if it's equal to what the user inputted, and then run the cupdate function with the even value below it.
Okay, there. Good try.
Yeah. I have a question. You mentioned that originally you created a GUI chatbot, which was great, but then you went and you created a non-GUI, non-graphical user interface. What were some of the challenges you had when you actually made that change?
The first thing we tried to do was keep the GUI, but still run it on like a website like Replit. But Replit's Tkinter support isn't very good, and it didn't work well. So I guess the biggest challenges were thinking, what kind of features can we not have in the non-GUI version that we'll have to remove? Not major features, but things like the welcome screen that gives you like the current time and date, or like the feature where you can give the chatbot a name. Like lots of small things we had to reconsider about whether or not we should have them in the non-graphical version.
Good. And then a follow-up on that, as far as the organization of your code, was that an easy process to remove functionality, or was it a difficult process? And maybe explain why.
It was surprisingly quite easy, because the way we had it was we had multiple files, and one file was just the chatbot, and then we had a bunch of other files for each of the functionalities. So all we had to do was just import them and use them. And when we want to get rid of it, we just had to delete the import and where it was used in the main code.
Good.
All right.
Other questions, Young Ning, or?
No, I'm good. Yeah, very good. Very well done.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The better program pending. Okay, next up we will have Emily Ong. Yes, William.
Oh, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Okay, start
hello.
whenever you're ready.
I'm Emily, and I will start off by introducing my project, Gigomi, which is a platform for people to post and take up jobs. So basically, the COVID-19 situation has impacted many different areas, one of the hardest hit being the economy. With higher unemployment, people face a loss in their income and have to compromise for a lower standard of living. But that is definitely not all. In the long run, high unemployment rates lead to a less productive workforce, which spells disaster for small and open countries like Singapore that thrive on trade. This limits the future growth prospects of the country. Therefore, Gigomi plans to leverage on the flexible aspect of the gig economy model, which has become increasingly popular and successful, to provide a short-term stream of income, of which people can upskill themselves and have more income to satisfy their needs and wants. This dampens the impact on the economy and allows for a higher standard of living in the future. So the project is built using Python and JavaScript. Flask is used as a web framework for the web app, and accompanying it are other useful libraries. This is a quick overview of the database design for the app using the entity relationship model. Now I'll show you two videos related to the workings of the app. So in this video, it shows that when the user logs in or sign up, the passwords are hashed before they are stored in the database. So this is the video of a user posting a job. I also use the Socket.io library to enable real-time notifications for chat messages, as well as updating the contact cards and chat box areas where appropriate. This is the video of it in action, where users can chat with each other in real time. Furthermore, client-side JavaScript is used for fast filtration of jobs based on the criteria chosen by the user by manipulating the DOM elements. Next, a full CRUD model has been implemented for the job, allowing for flexible operations on each job. Furthermore, using the Flask mail library, which is built on a simple mail transfer protocol, users can receive important email notifications, such as when users take up, abandon, or delete their jobs. Yesterday afternoon, I have also made a Chrome extension that fetches the jobs available over an API call. So basically in my Python program, I created a route that returns the available jobs in a JSON object. So this is the Chrome extension of fetching the jobs over the API call. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emily, for your presentation. We can move on to the Q&A.
Yeah, it's a very interesting project with real life application, getting people to post jobs and for people to actually find help on the platform. Very, very good. So just now you actually briefly mentioned about your database model. You have the user, right? And I think you have the job and the post, if I remember correctly. Yeah, sorry, user, message, and the job. Yeah. So I want to understand more. Tell us in greater details about your database model. I'm interested to learn a little bit more about the fields that you have, which are your keys, and why did you set it up that way?
So I use a relational database using the SQLite library, and I have 3 tables in my database. First is the user, message table, and the jobs table. So in the user table, my primary key is the username, because every user will have a unique username. So the username will be able to uniquely identify each user, and also have other fields such as the email, contact number, hash passwords, as well as the avatar of the user. However, I have not made the function for the user to upload his or her own avatar. So as for the jobs, I have my primary key is the job ID, and other fields are like the job title, description, the various details of the job, such as the location, price, as well as the dates and duration. So for the jobs, right, I have also 2 fields, which is the receiver of the job as well as the person who posted the job. And these are linked to the user tables, because with the username of the job receiver or the job sender, I can easily get their information from the user table. And this prevents like duplication of data. So for the message table, I also have the primary key, which is the message ID, as well as other fields such as the text message text and the time of which the message is sent, as well as the details regarding the sender and the receiver. And one more thing to add is that for the job table, I've only stored the fields for the start date of the job as well as the end date of the job, because the duration of the job can be calculated based on these two fields. So it makes my database design like more direct and simpler.
Okay, very good.
Good. Yeah, nice. So I like what you're talking about in your presentation about a new web API you created for the jobs. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you implemented it and how you actually call it?
So in Flask, it works based on routing. So I created a route that works on the GET request method, and it just calls the job database and returns a JSON object of all the jobs available. And in the Chrome extension program, I basically make a GET request to the web link, which is linked to the app route that I've created in my Python program. And it just returns a JSON object of the jobs.
Good, excellent, nice.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that might be time. Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, awesome job. I like it. Good job, Emily.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emily, for your presentation. I think it was great. Okay, next up maybe we have Kieran Ho. Kieran Ho.
Okay, let me just share my screen first.
You look all ready. Great.
Okay. Hello everyone. So today I'll present to you my Global Hackathon 2020 project, which is the COVID-19 Daily Bulletin. I'm Kieran Ho Jianming and I'm from Singapore. Okay, so my target audience is young adults or adults. Okay, there's a problem of during COVID-19, we see anxiety worldwide and people may not be well informed of our current situation. This may lead to like irrational actions such as the spreading of fake news, wiping out of basic supplies, or buying too much toilet paper from supermarkets, which inconveniences other people, and we don't want that to happen. So my project solves the problem by making live news available from credible sources and coronavirus tips from WHO. It also has a quiz to help people gain understanding in a fun way so that they do not like stock up unnecessarily or do any other bad things that might inconvenience other people. The quiz can also add like a competition factor to encourage people to do well in the quiz. My project uses both English and Japanese news and both Singaporean and Japanese coronavirus case counts to reach out to a bigger audience and to make sure both sides are like in the know. Okay, so the key code highlights. My code uses tkinter to display the news and coronavirus cases count and also the idle shell for the MCQ quiz. The updated news from credible sources, which includes both English and Japanese news, is enabled by the Python module requests. The coronavirus case count in both Singapore and Japanese uses APIs to pull from like web. Okay, my solution can be incorporated into apps on mobile devices to reach out to a larger audience, i.e. people who have phones. It can be for quicker accessibility. It can also be incorporated into other social media apps to reach out to a larger audience and also to enhance the competition factor as people see how others are doing. That makes them want to do better. I don't know. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Kieran. I like how you incorporated Japan and Singapore. Okay, have a Q&A session now.
So the first question I had for you is, so you mentioned that you obtain live news. Can you talk a little bit about how you do that in code and how you're able to get the news? Yeah.
Okay, so basically, it is the news is enabled by the Python module request. So the request module, it will like I will pull from credible sources, and we get the JSON data. So then we will pass the JSON data, and it will I have a function that will return the text of like the news. So then it will display the text on the decanter. So,
So Kieran, do you think you can show us the part of the code that does that?
yeah,
Where it
okay, hold on.
pulls
Sorry.
the data and how you process the pulled data.
Hold on, I have to open PyCharm first.
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Many people use PyCharm.
Yeah, so getting live data, I think that's something that is very, very interesting, right, Brian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, being able to get up-to-date real-time data.
Exactly. Yeah. Given that the coronavirus situation is basically changing every day, maybe even every single minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it'll be kind of cool. Let's say if we can process the data and have some data analytics that tell us some conclusion about how the virus is going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Okay.
All right, Kieran, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
So you may need to share your other window.
Oh wait, oops, sorry.
We're still seeing the presentation.
Hold on.
Yep.
I'll go and share the PyCharm window. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes, I can see that.
Okay. So this is the part of the code that gets from the website. So basically, this part, the request module, and it gets the JSON data from. Sorry. It gets from this website. It gets both English and Japanese. This is the Japanese part. Okay, so this is the function that passes the data and it will eventually return the text. So then, yeah, then these are the decanter about the coronavirus case count, the cases, recovery and deaths and stuff. Yeah.
And then how do you mentioned the data was stored in JSON. So how do you extract that data from JSON?
Okay, basically the request module, I think it has that already. So there's this thing. It will turn it into like the JSON module is like no. It returns like a dictionary type. So from the dictionary we can pass the dictionary and then we can check like for the data and then we get name. So it's like it just passes the dictionary and returns the important text.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Other questions, Young Ning?
I'm okay, actually.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah. Good job. It's awesome. Good work, Kieran.
Thank you, Kieran.
Well done.
Great job. Okay, next up we'll have Sri Harsha. Okay, you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sri Harsha, and what I've created for this coding lab project is an all-in-web web platform. So the target audience for my project is a general public, while also assisting frontliners and healthcare workers. The information page on the website educates the general public, which also helps them get live data for them regarding the pandemic in different countries. Many in our community do not clearly understand the causes and symptoms of the coronavirus, and thus the website helps remove that problem. And on a second page, on another page, I use machine learning to predict the probability of patients or people who could could potentially carry the virus. And the data used for the prediction purposes can be obtained from current COVID-19 patients. The data I use is regarding their body temperature, any signs and symptoms like a runny nose or body pain. And based on that, I fit that on a regression line, and using machine learning, I predict the probability. And this helps, this data could be sent to healthcare workers. This helps them because it's quite time consuming to get data sets regarding people who live in Singapore. The main features are an information page, getting the live data, the infection probability, and I've also added a blog forum where people can post their thoughts and what just any stories or experiences they have about COVID-19. So the key differentiator in my code is that I use machine learning to predict the probability of someone having the virus. And this makes people like feel safe as well. Like when they put in, like if they're feeling body pains or feeling if they have a runny nose, it makes them feel safer. And the government agencies could also get an idea of who could potentially have the virus. So moving on to the key differentiator and scalability. The ability to scale with the web platform that I created is quite clear. I can use the web platform to give data to government agencies who can later track and use the data to identify potential COVID-19 carriers. And the benefit of a web platform is also that it has no major costs involved and no major setting up involved as well. And due to lockdown in various countries, I'm sure that not many people will be going out, and the screening software, which detects like the thermal radiation, won't be that useful as majority of them stay at home. So the website is accessible to anyone, anywhere, and is self-usable. Yeah, that's pretty much it for my presentation right now.
Okay, thank you, Shri Harsha. So we move on to the Q&A.
Yeah, it's a very interesting project. I especially like the probability detector, where you use machine learning to help determine, based on the symptoms that the user has, what is the likelihood. So tell us more about it in greater details.
Let me just run my website so I could show you.
Sure. Actually, why don't you show us the code? Okay. Yeah, tell us more about the code behind it and how do you make it work? I know just now you showed a screenshot of that.
So this is basically the code for getting the probability. So what I have over here, the first function, data split, what it gets is, so basically it takes the data from the data.csv file, which is just a bunch of numbers and the temperature. So what I actually did was I attributed a value of 1, 0, and -1 to the seriousness of issue. So let's say a person has like a really runny nose, the value would be 1. If he has like slight runny nose, the value would be 0. And if he has like not a runny nose, the value would be -1. And I did the same for body pain, difficulty breathing. And based on the value, whatever the user inputs, the machine learning program would fit that on a regression line, and it would predict the probability. So so in this function, in the main function, it reads the data.csv file, and then after that it splits the data. It carries into it training that data and test data, and after that I just convert it into a NumPy array. A NumPy array makes it easier for machine learning programs, as it converts it into like it makes it more easier to analyze. And then this is the main part where the data which the user inputs is fitted on a regression line and the probability is predicted. The data.csv file is just like a random list of generated data, because I don't have access to like actual data of patients, but government agencies can put like data from current COVID-19 patients and use the program.
Okay, so tell me more on your understanding of the logistics regression. What does it do actually?
So what the logistic regression does is it takes the X values, which will be the fever, body pain, age, runny nose, difficulty breathing, and tiredness. And then based on the data file, so the fever, let's say it has a value of 1, body pain has a value of 1, age has a value of 1, and that's like same for like a lot of patients. And based on that, the regression line almost like writes like a line equation, and it just forms like a line based on the data and predicts like the probability on that line.
Okay, so and the data points that you made use of is quite interesting. Fever is linear, right? You're using the temperature, correct? So if I saw it correctly, I think it is in Fahrenheit. So body pain is discrete. It is +1, 0, or -1. So same for runny nose, difficulty breathing, and tiredness. Right. So you have a mix of linear data with discrete. So how would that impact your model?
Wait, could you repeat the question? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, because you have a mix of linear data, because your fever is linear, right? Because in a range. So it could be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, etc., etc. Whereas the rest are discrete. You have +1, 0, and -1. Yeah. So and then you're mixing them all in for a logistic regression. So how do you think that impacts your model?
So of
or
course,
does it not have any model?
I do think that will be like one limitation of my machine learning program, because there will be different outliers in this case. Like some might have no body pain and might still have the coronavirus, and each person cannot have like the exact value of 1, -1, and 0, and it won't be able to fit all the data on a linear regression line. But what the machine learning program actually does is give the government agency some sort of idea on who could potentially be the barriers. It might not be like an exact exact answer to who has the COVID-19, but who has COVID-19. But what they could do is it reduces the burden of checking like everyone in Singapore, but they could just limit to these people who might potentially have signs of the coronavirus.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Do you try the different combination, which is to have fever put aside and do the rest with building a different model with just a selected set of symptoms? But anyway, yours is more of a not the real data, right? Anyway, it is generated data. So good job. I mean, it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Should I run my website to give you guys like a better idea?
I think that would be nice. You have a very beautiful website.
Yeah, sure. So this is the website created. What I wanted to do was actually create it more like appealing to the audience using CSV, CSS. So over here, this is like just general information about COVID-19, and readers can just read this normally. Then this is where I have the request module. So let's just do like Singapore, for example. I just click get live data, and then returns the live data over here, recovered cases, all these. And just like the previous person said, it all converts it into a dictionary. And then for each one, it parses to the dictionary for like total confirmed cases, newly confirmed cases, and prints it out here. And maybe India. Those are the India cases. And then this is the probability detector that I have. So using forms from the Flask web app, you could just like type in like, okay, 104, age 23, body pain, severe. So all this was generated randomly, and then that's the probability. This of course isn't real because it's from the fake data. I've also added like a simple map. I just embedded it into the HTML. This is to just give the audience like an idea of where there were cases of COVID-19. And then this is the blog that I created. So so over here, you could just like post like whatever you want. And when I post blog, it goes to the database, and then using the post function, then from the database, I extract the data onto this blog for victim space. And as you can see here, I posted it today, 25th of April, just now. So this blog form can be used for anyone who wants to share their thoughts or experiences on COVID-19. And then over here, I just added another like temperature check page. So this database can be used to like send it to the government. They could just enter the probability they got from the previous probability detector page. All this is stored in the site.db database, and then yeah, I could just send it to government agencies.
Nice. Yeah.
Very
good
nice.
job. That's awesome.
Very good.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank you, Harsha, for the very detailed explanation. I think it was very nice to see that. Okay, thank you. Next up, we will have Takumi.
Yes. I'm not gonna share my screen. I'll just talk.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So my name is Takumi, and my project is called Tackle Quarantine. And this project aims to tackle coronavirus from an everyday perspective, especially targets people who are under self-isolation. But the age group remains from the youth to the elderly, because I did not limit my users because the pandemic is pressing, and I wanted the app to positively affect as many people as possible. and the problems I faced. So I narrowed my problems into 3 main points. The first one is lack of exercise. The second one is emotional damage, and the third one is clusters at grocery stores. And I believe that these 3 topics are what the people are struggling through in this pandemic. As I mentioned, the first being physical activities, the second, the mental damage, and the third, buying essential goods. And my project solves these problems by the first, lack of exercise. My project provides the exercise people need to have stable health conditions. It is accessible to all kinds of people because it is split into easy, medium, and hard levels. Furthermore, there are instructions, explanation, and countdowns, so that it is easy for the user. The emotional heaviness. My program includes sharing opinions with other people. Seeing other people's thoughts on the coronavirus will make some users ensure that they're not alone in this pandemic. And in addition, this platform helps people share opinions and people's voices can be heard by the other users in the public. And the clusters at grocery stores, the program calculates how many people are in each grocery store according to the user's input, and it suggests the user in which grocery to go to avoid contacting with a lot of people. And I believe that my project stands out amongst the rest because it includes all the essential needs of the people they need right now in this pandemic, which is physical activity, emotional support, and not contacting with many people. However, out of the 3, I think that the survey is the most essential topic because a lot of people around the world are having difficulties with the coronavirus, and we need to support those citizens of the world. This, I believe, can be achieved by sharing opinions platform, which shares views on the coronavirus with other people. This will be significant emotional support for the people around the world and will help those in need. So my solution can be scaled in 2 ways. And the first one, about the grocery store, right now I'm using the random, but if I add live location tracking, it will track how many people are in a certain place. So the user has less chance of meeting a lot of people. And the second one about the opinion sharing, if more of the public participate in this platform, it will become a larger platform where everyone can share their ideas, problems, and thoughts. By reaching out to larger groups of people, larger communities, the platform will affect the users' lives positively, helping those in need along the way, and it will build positive community around the world. Finally, I want to thank my coding lab teachers who helped me come through this far, and thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you, Takumi.
Good.
So any questions?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Takumi. Good job. So a few questions about your code. So in your opinion sharing feature of your program, so you said you have 3 different features. This is one of the features. Your program persists data, so it saves the data between sessions. So can you describe how your code is able to save and load the comments that users share?
Okay, so first, I asked for the user's input, and then I put the input into. So the input goes into a pickle file, and then the file is added to a list, and it saves all the data in the list. And when it tries to load, it loads the list, and it will show the list of answers.
Good. And so you mentioned pickle. So why were you using pickle to save your data?
I guess because it's mainly because that's what I was most comfortable with, because I I used it a lot in the past, and yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Good, good. So maybe describe a little bit with your program has a menu selection feature. So maybe talk about how that works, how the navigation and selection model works. So how does your program let users choose multiple actions and then eventually quit your program?
Okay. So I have a menu, a table of contents, the first one being exercise, the second checking grocery store ability, and the third sharing thoughts with people. And as you mentioned, the fourth input is the exit, and then the user can input 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 to choose what they want to do, and then it will go into their own thing.
Good. And then as far as the code itself, so if a user selects a number, how are you actually determining which one they've chosen?
Okay, so I'm using if and elif. So if the user's input is 1, it will go to exercise, and if the user's input is 2, it will go to the grocery store, and so on.
Okay. Good, good. Other questions? A couple more. I think we have one more question. I think we might be almost out of time. So one is that your program has a lot of different features. So how did you actually structure your code to support all of those features?
Okay, so I had a lot of functions for the exercise. So I put them at the top, and I had a lot of lines. And at the bottom, I had the menu printing, and also the ifs and elifs. Yeah.
Okay, good, excellent, thanks. Yeah, so yeah, thanks Takumi, good job. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Takumi.
Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least now, we have Ziv Lim Zheng Heng.
Oh, hi. My name is Jiflim Jongheng. My name is Jiflim from Singapore, and today I'm going to share you my Young Coders Global Hackathon 2020 project. Let me find the project. So this project is meant for children aged from 10 to 12 and teaches them about the coronavirus in a funny way. I'll explain to you why later. How to prevent from spreading or contracting the coronavirus and to make wise decisions through this pandemic. My project solves these three problems by having three parts: a quiz, 7 steps to prevent the spread of COVID-19, and a solve. Okay, I'll explain to you one by one. Unlike any other quiz, my quiz is like a special penalty for getting the question wrong. I didn't want to say, oh, -1 life, that those penalties in video game, or just no penalty at all. My penalty is special. If you get a question wrong, it'll open up a random YouTube video. But unfortunately, it doesn't work in Google Colab, and you have to do it in Python IDLE by itself. You also can type help if you don't know the answer for a question. The program will also track how long it took to answer the questions, like this. Okay, so this is how my code works. You see, these are the links if you lose, and if you get them wrong, you're like, I use import random right here. So it'll be like, oh, okay, I'll randomly select 0. So it's gonna open this link right there. And when it opens, it plays the video and stuff. So I'm gonna show it to you all here, and I'm gonna purposely answer it. I'm gonna open up a random YouTube link. Okay. After that, let's say I don't know. I think it's from Australia, but it's not. I think it's from Singapore. I think it's from Japan, but it's not. Okay, so if you don't know, just type help. And by the way, it's case insensitive. Wait, no, sorry. I was meant to say the answer was actually China, but yeah, the answer was from China. So yeah, okay. Moving on to the next part. 7 steps. This part teaches students 7 simple steps to prevent the spread of contracting coronavirus. The source is from the WHO right here, this video, and the program will proceed to the next step if anything is entered. So I'm gonna run it right here. So let's say I'm gonna put A. I say wash your hands frequently. Okay. After that, wait, wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your face. Cover the cough with a bend of your elbow or a tissue. Avoid crowded places. I know it. Stay at home, especially if you feel unwell. If you're unwell, seek medical care. Yeah, this one's important. So last but not least, get information from trusted sources like your government or the WHO and SDN. Okay. So then this is my last one. This story idea is like inspired by some game. I think it's called Minecraft Story Mode. So this game is like a bit like someone like those choose your adventure games, like could choose choice one or choice two. There are multiple different ways the story could end. You start off as like a normal child during the pandemic. Your parents are doctors. That's good, nice. And this game gives you tiny decisions to make. These choices, right? These decisions can change the whole game. You can either contract the coronavirus or not. Okay. So let's say I don't contract the coronavirus. B, let's say, okay, you're home alone as your parents work as doctors after HBR and your session of tuition ended. What's in the time? Knowing your cooking isn't the best. You want to go out to take away. So okay, I want to be very safe, so I'm gonna cook at home. So then the food didn't taste great. After you finish eating, your parents return back from work and they look very stressed out like, oh, probably they just need a hug. But wait, what if they got the coronavirus? So yeah, I'm not gonna hug them. And for the rest of the circuit breaker, you continue learning from your common sense had saved you and prevented you from having coronavirus. And this time, I'm gonna purposely contract the coronavirus. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna go out and you texted your parents that you're going out and to buy food, and they let you do so. While you were queuing, some people behind you were coughing, and when you returned back home, you saw that your parents already returned from parents already, and they've already showered and they're sleeping. So what should you do? I'm not gonna shower. So the next day, you had a slight cough. So what should you do? A, to tell your mother, I'm just going to take some medicine, you'll be fine. But the next day, your mother saw you coughing finally. She sent you to the hospital and you tested positive for the coronavirus. 2 days later, you transferred to the intensive care unit. Thankfully, you didn't affect anyone else. You trace your steps carefully to see what you have done wrong. Yeah, something like that. So basically, there are multiple ways to end the story.
Okay, thank you, Zif. Maybe last, how are you going to round up the presentation?
Oh, probably how could my solution be scaled? So if I manage, so I can probably make my game or my project, to be exact, website based instead of an app. So like it can be accessible for anyone. As I want to make it, I could probably seek coding tech help to create another page on their website for my game. Like this game for an example, this website for an example. And in my way, if my game becomes popular or my project, it promotes coding labs and enrichment classes. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for
All right. Thank you, Zif, for your very interesting project. I like how you put the link. Okay, let's move on to the Q&A session.
I can start with the first question. So maybe you mentioned this a little bit in your presentation, but maybe talk briefly about how the quiz part of your program works and is able to actually display a YouTube video if they get the answer wrong.
Oh, okay, sorry. Back to my program. Let's say I created this Q&A, which is a list and an answer. If you're asking me why I didn't use dictionary instead, it's because I find lists a bit much more simpler and easier for me to understand. So I put the questions here and the answers right here. So then let's say x equals to 0, 3 this one. Okay, there you go. So when there are 12 questions, answer them wrongly, and this program will open a random YouTube video. Okay, so right here, sorry. So let's say, I got it wrong. See if it's perfect, and let's say if it's equals to the answer right here, then get correct. Then your answer x plus equals 1. But if it's wrong, then like wrong, please try again. So it's gonna open a random link right here. by importing web browser. Else if it's not perfect. So I did this. So then let's say I just want to make people sure that there are corrections or something like that. So if it goes to help, then if you print the answer as strings answer x and x equals to 1, then you break the whole loop right here. So then else print wrong, please try again. Then I open the web browser again. So then and yeah, that's how I managed to open the browser. I use web browser and I use this thing. Are you clear? Or do I have to repeat again?
Nope, that sounds good. Thank you. Good job. Yeah. So another question, or did you say something, Melanie?
Yeah, maybe I'll ask the second question. So you have a project which has multiple layers. So depending on which menu the user decides to choose.
Yes.
So how do you make sure that your code doesn't break when the users choose a wrong option or an option that is not expected?
Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, so for the first one, type Q for quiz, type A for 7 steps to prevent the spread of corona, type B for story, and type P to exit. Okay, so I created an infinite while loop. So P input type here, and I made the input lowercase. So then so as to prevent it. So after this, so let's say after these cases, if okay, I'm gonna just randomly type an input right here. You can say input invalid, try again. Why? So let's say, oh, false. I'm gonna skip this. False, because it's not equal to Q, A, B, or E. So then else you print input invalid, please try again. That's how I prevent it from breaking when an error occurs.
All right, that's good.
Okay, thank you. Any last questions from anyone?
Nope, I think that's good. Yeah, so good job. Nice project.
Yeah, excellent job. Yeah, excellent job, everyone.
Thank you. I think we have reached the last participant already. So great job, everyone. And you have last words from Brian.
Yeah. So so we want to thank everybody for joining the hackathon, submitting code, working together, and coming today. Everyone did a great job. We want to thank everyone that signed up for the hackathon, attended the workshops that we did in the Python meetups, and submitted code. So we hope that everybody had a fun time and that that you learned a little bit and you had a good experience and definitely had fun. So thanks, everybody. As far as the next stage, so the judges will choose, as we said before, the top 5 teams. And I think we're going to announce that around Tuesday of this week. So keep your eye on emails. We'll do that over email. Yeah, and so everyone, thanks a lot. And yeah, have a great day. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Good job, everyone.
All right. So everyone do a big wave for our camera. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was super impressed with the code that everyone did. So you guys did great. So yeah.
Yeah, everyone did an excellent job.
Yes.
Hey, continue to improve your project.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Keep coding on your projects. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Better name pending.wixsite.com.
Good job, William. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 You have a shirt on it.